Hello everybody, Melanie here and welcome back to my channel. I work as a counsellor helping people who are really struggling after coming out of a difficult relationship. And one of the biggest problems that I think a lot of us can resonate with is the pain of realizing that the person that you loved doesn't love you back. The way that you feel is not reciprocated. And this is all the more pronounced after dating someone personality disordered. So I'm making two videos. This one is talking about those with NPD, Narcissistic Personality Disorder, and the second one will be about after dating someone with BPD. Narcissists are well known for loving themselves more than anyone else. The question is, do they have room to love someone else as well as themselves? Did they ever love you at all? Are they fully capable of loving you, of loving anyone? Well, let's talk about the difference between someone who is highly narcissistic, has narcissistic traits, versus someone who has NPD. Can someone who is highly narcissistic be capable of fully loving someone else other than themselves? Absolutely, they can. Someone who has highly narcissistic traits is more than capable of being able to love someone else. It requires eating a slice of humble pie to actually take a step back and realize, what has my part been in causing suffering to others, taking accountability for their past mistakes, their actions, what they've said, to be able to willingly look in the mirror and see their shadow, to accept the mistakes, to be willing to work on themselves. So someone who has highly narcissistic traits doesn't necessarily have a personality disorder, and we often see in younger people they are naturally more highly narcissistic because their brains are still developing, and as such younger people tend to be more self-centered in their behaviors because their frontal cortexes are still developing, and this tends to mature around the age of 25. And as such, you often find people from their mid to late 20s going into their 30s having a dark night of the soul, start to question, is this who I am? Is this who I want to be? And as such, we start to question ourselves, and this involves doing shadow work, eating a bit of humble pie to admit that, okay, maybe I've got a part to play in my own suffering. And as such, we go into a bit of the void, dark night of the soul, be pulled apart, and then reassemble ourselves again, and as such emerge, resurrect, ideally stronger and wiser in our 30s. So yes, someone who's just highly narcissistic is more than capable of changing themselves and to be better able to love someone else, to care for someone better, more empathically, to look after themselves better, to be more humble. There is a difference with someone with NPD, and this is that they only exist as their full self. They've experienced a huge amount of trauma as a reaction to a highly toxic and hostile environment. They've developed a personality disorder, and as such, their minds are stunted as if they're still psychologically like a child or a teenager. So they're not going to be willingly wanting to work on themselves. Their full self is their entire self. And as such, they're not willing to be able to look into the mirror and to do some shadow work and to admit, okay, so maybe I need to change myself. For the true narcissist, for someone with NPD, there's nothing wrong with them. Problems with everyone else. They are perfect. They are omniscient. They're omnipotent. They are all that they are. It's why would they need to work on themselves? The problem's always with someone else if there is a problem. An external locus of control. I want to briefly talk about the story of Narcissus, as I think it's quite symbolically applicable here. It's a young boy who eventually looked at his reflection. He was told by his mum to never look at his reflection. One day he did. He gazed upon his reflection, and he fell in love with the sight that he saw. And he realized in quite painful agony that this love is unobtainable. He realized that this is just a reflection of himself, and in agony he killed himself. He plunged a dagger into his chest. He fell to the ground, and the blood seeped into the earth, and the white narcissus flower grew up from where the blood seeped. Talking symbolically, what could this mean? This flower that's emerged from the ground which was stained in his blood. He was in love with an unobtainable love. It was an ideal. It was a fantasy. It was reflection. It wasn't real. It wasn't tangible. It was a love that was forever he was going to keep chasing, and he would never be satisfied. And as such, the pain, he willingly self-sacrificed himself. And in doing so is the new beginnings, a new capacity to be different, to have the space to love another person, to move on from the fantasy and to love someone in a tangible reality, maybe. These are just my thoughts. What do you think? Leave in the comments below. For me, this is symbolic of him sacrificing his full self in order to emerge different. For change to happen, something needs to die. It's the Tower card in the tarot decks. The towers that are crumbling down. Structures need to come down in order for something new to be built upon them. And this is symbolically seen as death. For any of us embarking on the journey of change, personal growth, spiritual growth, we have to allow for the aspect of inner death. And after inner death comes resurrection and rebirth. And it's a cycle. It's a cycle that nature teaches us. The feminine aspect of nature, the changing cycles of the moon. There needs to be death for birth to come. It is birth, death, creation, destruction. It's a cycle that is ongoing. Narcissist's love for his full self was never going to go anywhere. It was fated. It was doomed to never amount to anything. When we realize that we have a full self, when we're acting out certain personas that aren't us, in the quest for living authentically, we need to be willing to break down these old defense mechanisms, these old ways of being, these old habits, these old outdated thought patterns. Our full selves, we need to be willing to challenge them in order to be more authentic and to speak and live our truths better. Some people in the New Age community mistakenly say as this killing your ego, like we need to kill our egos, destroy the egos. It's not possible. The ego is a term to refer to our consciousness having a vehicle to operate in this world. Ego is what it is. It just is. It's a vehicle for our consciousness to operate in this world. We can't destroy the ego. We need the ego to be in this world. I think what people are trying to say is to destroy the false self, the inauthentic self, so that we can start living more authentically. So to conclude, I don't think someone with narcissistic personality disorder is ever capable of truly loving someone. When a narcissist loves someone, it's normally because they want something from you. They want to secure you as a supply source. And as such, they will love bomb you. They will be super charming. Just be aware that the love that is in this relationship, it's not a two-way street. These are very much tricksters who are using this, who are allowing you to believe your own fantasies because it's serving them for whatever reason. You are acting as a supply source for them. So I'm going to pause it here for now, and in part 2, I will be talking about loving someone who has borderline personality disorder, the relationship's ended, and you're experiencing them as just hating you, not even loving you anymore, and you're like, what happened to the love? So I'm going to talk about that in the next video. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. And if you resonate with this, if you need some guidance and support, please get in contact. My name is Melanie. My email address is melanieprsvp@gmail.com. Maybe counseling might help if you're in a difficult situation. Okay, everyone, have a lovely evening and bye for now.